You ever had one of those mornings where something just feels off? The air's too still, the birds too quiet, like the land itself is warning you. That's how it started the day the HOA sent their so-called representatives to my ranch. They thought they were about to intimidate a quiet, middle-aged rancher into submission. What they didn't know: I'm not the kind of man you send threats to, especially not on my own land. Now before we get to the part where they limped off my property like dogs with tails between their legs, you need to understand how it all began. I bought this ranch 5 years ago. 30 acres of open Texas land, quiet sunsets, and no neighbors within screaming distance. The kind of place a man could finally breathe. I'd done my time in the city, fought through the chaos, worked my way up, paid off every debt I owed. This ranch wasn't just a piece of land. It was my reward. But paradise has a funny way of attracting the wrong kind of attention. See, just down the road, one of those cookie-cutter suburban neighborhoods popped up a year after I moved in. At first, I thought nothing of it. Let the HOA folks do their thing. Their gates, their signs, their rules, they didn't apply to me. I wasn't part of their little kingdom. Or so I thought. It started with the letters. Plain envelopes, no return. Address slipped into my mailbox like a thief in the night. Your fencing is obstructing the view of the community walking trail. Your livestock violates local noise ordinances. Your property is not in compliance with community aesthetic guidelines. I laughed the first time I read one. Guidelines? I'm not in your community, pal. I'm a free man on free land. The county records prove it. My property was exempt from their HOA borders by over 300 yards, but those letters kept coming. And soon, they weren't just letters. One morning I found a notice stapled to my barn door. I still remember the bold red text. Final warning. Comply or face legal action. That's when I knew. They weren't just annoyed. They were gearing up for a fight. I went to the HOA office that day. Calm, respectful. I figured maybe they'd gotten bad information, and a civil talk would clear things up. I was met by a woman named Gloria. Mid-50s, sharp-angled haircut, pearls strung tight like her attitude. The kind of person who speaks in code, smiling through clenched teeth. You have a lovely property, Mr. Granger, she said, not even looking up from her monitor. But if it affects the harmony of our neighborhood, we reserve the right to intervene. I told her plainly, you have no jurisdiction. Here, her lips curled into a grin that still sends a chill down my spine. Oh, we'll see. 2 days later, I woke up to tire tracks in my pasture. Deep ones. Someone had driven through during the night. My front gate, solid steel and reinforced, was scratched up like someone had tried ramming it open. Still, I didn't call the sheriff, not yet. I wasn't about to show weakness. Instead, I installed trail cameras, motion activated, night vision enabled, and posted new signs. Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Not part of HOA. Stay out. But it wasn't enough. They escalated. It was a Thursday afternoon when the thugs showed up. 3 of them. All driving black pickups with no plates. Wearing boots too clean for real ranch work. With mirrored sunglasses and smug grins like they'd just stepped out of some bad action movie. The tallest one, muscle-bound with a neck tattoo that looked like barbed wire, stepped forward first. You must be Mr. Granger, he said. We've been sent to do a courtesy inspection. I raised an eyebrow. By who? He smirked. By people with authority. Now you gonna open that gate or are we climbing over? My blood boiled. I'd been patient. I'd played it civil. But this was a line crossed. You have 5 seconds to turn around and leave, I told them. After that, I treat you like any trespasser. They laughed, all 3 of them. Until I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. Footage lit up live. Feed from the trail cams. There they were, captured in full HD, and more than that, a live link transmitting straight to a secure cloud server and to Sheriff Delgado's office, who, God bless him, happens to be a personal friend. Tattoo neck. Stiffened. You recording us? Already done, I said. And if you don't turn that truck around, you'll be crawling out of here. That's when he made his second mistake. He reached for the bolt cutters hanging off his belt and took one step toward my gate. That's all I needed. I hit the panic button on my key fob. Not for an alarm, no. This was wired into a floodlight and siren system I had custom rigged. It went off like a war zone, lights flashing, sirens blaring, a recorded voice on loop. You are trespassing on private property. Authorities have been notified. They panicked. The second guy dropped his phone trying to record me, and the third one, some skinny guy with a limp, started yelling at his buddies to back off. Tattoo neck wasn't done. He stormed the gate and tried to muscle it open. Bad move. I have 2 German shepherds, trained, silent until commanded. With one whistle, they came charging out of the barn. Now, I didn't sick them on the guys. I'm not a monster, but I let them loose enough to make a point. They ran straight for the gate, barking with fury, teeth bared like wolves. The men froze. All their bravado gone. One of them slipped in the mud trying to get back to his truck. Tattoo neck tripped over his own feet and landed face first in a puddle. That's when the sheriff pulled up, sirens blaring, dust cloud behind him. He stepped out with that look that said, "This ain't gonna end well for you boys." Sheriff Delgado took one look at the scene, turned to me and said, "Did you invite these gentlemen?" "Not a chance," I said. In the end, they were cited for trespassing, harassment, and attempted property damage. Turned out they weren't hired contractors. No, Gloria and the HOA had paid them off the books, $300 cash each, to pressure me into compliance. The sheriff handed me a statement for my lawyer and told me to press charges, which I did. Full force. And Gloria? She got real quiet after that. But that was just the beginning, because what I discovered next, buried in land maps and backroom deals, would make this little stunt look like child's play. They weren't just trying to intimidate me. They were trying to take my land. And in Chapter 2, you'll find out how I turned the tables on the entire HOA, exposed their corruption, and made sure they'd never mess with another landowner again. You ever see someone poke a sleeping bear and then act surprised when it bites? That's exactly what the HOA did. After sending those goons to my ranch, they thought I'd just lick my wounds, maybe fold under pressure. But here's the thing about old ranchers like me: we don't break easy. And when you push us too far, we don't just push back, we bulldoze. The very next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, strong coffee in hand, and spread every letter, notice, and so-called complaint I'd ever gotten from that HOA across the table. Something didn't sit right. They weren't just being annoying. They were coordinated, persistent, almost desperate. And that's when I noticed it on one of the early letters, hidden in the fine print like a snake in the grass. Annexation under review pending county ordinance expansion. Annexation of my land? I drove straight to the county clerk's office. It's a dusty little place with flickering lights and the smell of old paper hanging in the air. I asked to see all zoning applications and land adjustments filed within the past year. Took them 30 minutes to find the file, and when they handed it to me, my blood ran cold. The HOA had submitted a formal request to redraw the boundary lines of their community to include my land. Their reasoning? Aesthetic unity and environmental compliance. But here's the kicker: they had forged my signature on a supposed agreement to the proposal. They were trying to steal my land with a pen and a lie. That's when the gloves came off. I hired a land use attorney, a hard-nosed woman named Rita. Wore steel-rimmed glasses and had a voice like gravel, exactly the kind of person you want in your corner when things get dirty. She went to work digging. In less than a week, she uncovered a gold mine. Gloria, the HOA president? Turns out she was related to a property developer who had eyes on expanding that whole neighborhood into a luxury eco-resort. Those community walking trails. They complained about me ruining. Plans showed they were going to run straight through my pasture. And those representatives they sent to intimidate me. One of them had a prior conviction for assault. And guess what? The HOA paid his bail 3 months ago. I was staring at a full-blown land grab scheme. And I was the last obstacle in their way. Rita filed a cease and desist and notified the county of the forged documents. That got things moving fast, but I wasn't done. See, I believe in justice, but I also believe in making a point. These people needed to learn you don't mess with someone's land, someone's life, and think you can just walk away. So I put together a plan of my own. Step 1. Go public. I contacted a local news station. Gave them everything: letters, video, footage, documents, even copies of the forged signature. Told them the full story. A rural rancher harassed by an overreaching HOA trying to steal his land. They aired the segment during prime time. The headline? Warfare. Local rancher fights back against land grab. It blew up. Suddenly, I wasn't just some stubborn landowner. I was the face of resistance. People started showing up at my gate, not to harass me, but to support me. Farmers, veterans, even city folks tired of HOA abuse. And Gloria? She disappeared from the spotlight like a roach when the lights come on. But it gets better. Step 2. The town hall. The county called for a public hearing on the annexation proposal. This was it, the showdown. I showed up early. Wore my cleanest boots and brought every piece of evidence we had. Rita was right beside me, organized and ready. The HOA board was there too, shaking in their seats, trying to act like nothing was wrong. When it came time to speak, I walked up to that podium and looked every single person in that room straight in the eye. I bought my land fair and square. I pay my taxes, I feed my livestock, I mind my business. I never asked to be part of your community, and I never agreed to your rules. What the HOA has done isn't just harassment, it's fraud. It's intimidation. And it's theft. They sent men to threaten me. They forged my signature. And now they want to act like I'm the problem? You could hear a pin drop. Then I played the video of the 3 thugs trespassing. I showed the forged documents side by side with my real signature. Rita presented the developer's connection to Gloria. We laid it all bare. The county board didn't even hesitate. Annexation? Denied. HOA? Fined $100,000 for fraud, harassment, and illegal activity. Gloria? Removed from her position immediately and referred to the day. And as for the thugs? They pled guilty to trespassing and received a hefty fine and probation. One of them, Tattoo Neck, got 6 months after it was discovered he violated his parole. Just showing up at my property. Justice served, right? But the story doesn't quite end there. You see, once the dust settled, people started coming to me, not just to congratulate me, but to ask for advice. Other ranchers, families, even small business owners being pushed around by their own HOAs. So I took it a step further. With the help of Rita and some fellow landowners, we started an organization, Property Owners United, a non-profit legal defense fund aimed at protecting landowners from HOA overreach. We've already helped a dozen people stand up to illegal fines, forged documents, and abusive enforcement. Gloria? Her name's become a punchline. My ranch? Still standing, stronger than ever. And me? Well, I sit on my porch every evening with a cup of coffee in one hand and a watchful eye on my land. The fence is stronger, the dogs sleep easy. And that community walking trail? It's now a muddy trench from where their surveyors tried sneaking in during a rainstorm. I planted wild cactus in it. Nature's barbed wire. Funny thing is, I'm not even angry anymore. I just feel proud. Proud that I stood up when it mattered. That I didn't back down. That I showed these people there's still such a thing as right and wrong. even when they try to bury it under red tape and fake signatures. So if you're out there, watching this, dealing with your own HOA nightmare, let me tell you something. They might have lawyers, they might have influence, they might even have thugs, but they don't have your backbone. They don't have your land, and if you stand your ground, they'll be the ones crawling away just like they did from mine.